Welcome back to Devil's Advocate with Arundhati Roy. Arundhati Roy, let's come to how you view the Maoist struggle. In your essay, Listening to Grasshoppers, you write, almost with approval, the poor are crossing over quietly while the world's not looking to the side of the armed struggle. Do you support, perhaps even approve the Maoist struggle?
Well, look, I mean, as we've been saying earlier, there's been a massive dispossession, a structural violence against the poor of this country. We're talking about tens of millions dispossessed, malnutrition. We're talking about 180,000 farmers who've committed suicide. But most of all, what worries me is this binary that's being put out now, the state versus the Maoists. You know, sometimes even I'm guilty of that. But the fact is that for the last 20 years, there have been a whole array of peaceful struggles, a whole array of people, of voices, including mine, saying, look, if you don't pay attention to this non-violent resistance, by default you condone violence.
So you're saying that the Maoists have been driven to take up arms because they've been pushed to the perimeters of Indian society?
Look, so now what's happened is that the poor who are being faced with this violence have taken up arms. I'm not sure that all of them are Maoists. I think there's a very big problem about how the state defines Maoists and who they are willing to kill and call a Maoist.
Leave the definition of Maoist aside. Are the poor and the dispossessed, who you say have been driven to the perimeters, justified in taking up arms?
Well, look, if I was a person who's being dispossessed, whose wife has been raped, who's being pushed off their lands, and who's being faced with this police force, I would say that I'm justified in taking up arms if that's the only way I have to defend myself.
If the Maoists or the poor are justified in taking up arms, then is the state, particularly a state where the government is popularly elected and representative, justified in taking up arms in defense?
See, Karan, I think we should stop thinking about who's justified, because we are in a situation now where it's happening. And what is happening is that there is a face-off, and there are two armies, apart from the fact that there are all these non-violent resistance movements which are not being listened to, which are not being spoken about or written about. You have an army of very poor people being faced down by an army of the rich that are corporate backed. And I'm sorry, but it is like that, so how you can't extract a morality from the heinous acts of violence that each commits against the other. You have to pull back and look at what's going on.
Let's look at what's going on.
One second, let me just say this. And we have to understand that this war, the government of India cannot win, because the poor don't have weapons, the poor don't have money, but they are huge numbers. And what you're seeing is a conflation of terrorism and poverty. The poor today are being called terrorists.